Hello, and welcome to the FastForwardAmy show, the show where we talk about how you can lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Today, we are here to talk about how I became a self-made female millionaire. Now, that is a fairly weird topic to talk about for me because as I was preparing to record this podcast, I actually hadn't really realized that I had become a self-made millionaire. I looked up the definition of self-made. Self-made is that you did it by yourself without your family's fortune. That's true. And a millionaire is someone whose net worth is worth over 1 million. Now, we have done in sales in the past 6 months, so from August to January, we have done about $2 million in sales in my business, of which I am the only shareholder. So I guess that puts us at that mark, definitely, and like there's more, but it's very un-Belgian to talk about. As you might know, I am from Belgium, or should I say the Kingdom of Belgium, because we still have a king and a queen, and we are a tiny, tiny European country. Now, right now, I am 28 years old at the time of recording this episode, and it might seem very, like, maybe if you've seen me on Instagram or in videos, you think, oh, she has her shit together and she has a big house and all of that, but I'm not saying I have my shit together. There are a lot of shits I don't have together. But a few years ago, I was totally broke and living in the smallest bedroom possible with all of my clothes just on the floor, working very early mornings until very late nights. And I was really fighting to survive back then. And I think this is only about 5 years ago. So in 5 years, a lot has happened. Back then, I was afraid to get sick, afraid to go to the doctors, because then I maybe would have had to go to the pharmacy and I didn't have the money to go to the pharmacy. I would look at the price of every single thing I bought. I would not have all the money for my school books, stuff like that. So I've really come a long way. And I don't always feel comfortable talking about the whole, hey, I'm a millionaire thing. I could put it in my bio on Instagram. I'm sure it would attract a lot of clients. Surely this episode is also a little bit of a clickbaity episode. But it does, like, my mission is that I do want you to know that this is possible and that I am not an exception to the rule. I am the living proof of the fact that you can do this too. So I thought it would be nice to talk to you about the multiple lessons. I have about 10 lessons that got me from there to here and to really like dive deep into that. So if we go back 5 years in time, I was starting my business. I was living by myself. I was studying full time. I was getting a business degree, and I was a fitness coach back then. So I saw a lot of clients. And I worked many, many hours. And when my clients were there, I was very tired, working a lot, waking up at 6, seeing clients at 7. At night, I didn't have any time to eat. And at night, I would see my dinner as like, finally, I get to relax that day. And then I would often also eat way too much because that was my only moment where I was not working or where I couldn't do anything else other than eat and Netflix. So that was the highlight of my day. Then, not the highlight, it was just the end of my day. Then I would be on the couch eating and Netflixing. I was single then, by the way, or like had a boyfriend, didn't have a boyfriend anymore, got my heart broken, all of that stuff that happens when you are in that time of your life. And then I would not have the energy to take my makeup off. If I would make it to my bed, I probably took my clothes off and threw them on the floor and went to bed like that. Didn't wear PJs, didn't have a night routine, didn't take care of myself, overate. And I was making about a few €1,000 a month. So I was making, let's say around 50 euros an hour, and I was making a few €1,000 a month. And I was very proud of that because I had built that up and I tracked everything meticulously. And that is probably a really good tip, to track what you were earning and to track who you were earning it from, like who are your clients, who get you the most revenue, because you might not know this, but usually 20% of your clients get you 80% of your revenue. So I was in a service-based business back then. I still am, but today, don't worry, I'm gonna talk to you and teach you things both for services as well as products. This is just about how you can evolve in your business. Now, I just made it sound really negative, but back then my business was doing really well, actually. I was just also studying full time. So that was a little bit difficult, and it wasn't the easiest degree. I did want to finish it because I was like, that's going to be my buffer. You never know what happens. And then maybe if something happens, I still have a good degree and I can go and work for someone else if my own business doesn't pan out. So how do you go from being broke, exhausted, and running a business, but really running the business and not having the business run you, to being a multi-millionaire, self-made female millionaire, all of that? That is what I'm going to tell you today. And I'm not going to give you a fixed set of rules. I'm going to tell you what helped me looking back to evolve from 5 years ago to now. One of the first things that I changed those 5 years ago is, well, I'm already thinking of other stuff, but abundance. Abundance is the one thing I would ever get as a tattoo. I would put it right here as a reminder for myself. Believing in abundance over scarcity. As you can imagine, back then, because of the studying, because of all of the fires I had to constantly put out, because of the money being tight, it was really easy to look at money as the devil and to look at a lot of things as being negative. And it wasn't until I started educating myself more financially and looking at my money mindset and my self-talk. I was also getting coached on self-talk because I was struggling so much with myself back then, that I realized if I talk negatively about money, money is going to talk negatively about me. If I talk in scarcity, then that's going to come back around. So I really switched a lot of my mindset. For example, I was driving a beat up car and I did have money to buy a new car, but it would have been all of my money to buy a new car. And I remember struggling with that because the car didn't reflect who I was or who I wanted to be. And I was like, wow, this is really beat up, like, all the paint scratched from it and everything. And I remember talking to my coach, Sarah, who's been on the podcast a few times too. And she told me like, well, but maybe it does represent who you are, because it represents who you are, that you are a person who makes responsible decisions, who takes care of herself, who doesn't take unnecessary risks, and who is smart about all that. And reframing a lot of the things I was doing so that they were aligned with who I was on the inside, and reframing it as an abundant choice instead of something I had to do out of scarcity, really helped me fully step into that abundance. So instead of being annoyed that I was driving the beat up car and didn't have money to change anything in my apartment, I was proud of how responsible I was. I was making abundant choices instead of being pushed into a corner by my situation. So there you go from a victim mindset to an ownership mindset where you have choices, and that is abundance. And I think choices lead to freedom. And freedom is what we all want. That's why my signature program is called the Business Freedom Elevator. Shout out, by the way, to all of my Business Freedom Elevator students who are listening right now. And if you ever want information about that program, definitely go and check it out through fastforwardamy.com/elevator. We're currently not enrolling, but you're always free, or like you can make the choice to put yourself on the wait list for when we open back up. So believing in abundance over scarcity is definitely a really, really big thing. Aligned with that is that I let go of a lot of anger. So I was very angry. This is definitely the same time period. I look at it as maybe like one principle, but it's a different principle. It's actually a principle of ownership. I was feeling very victimized back then. I was feeling very much like I am pushed into this situation, the whole not being a choice, but I am a victim. I am sitting in this corner. I am waiting for other people to come and fix my life. Not like for 90% I wasn't. For 90% I was taking action, doing the things, but there was this 10% of me that was still like a little kid being like, you took away my candy, or you didn't give me the candy I want. I was still waiting for other people to come and give me more of what I wanted. I was waiting for other people to discover what I needed before looking myself at what I really truly needed. I remember sitting in the car feeling angry, feeling sad, tears streaming down my face. I remember exactly where I was driving in my hometown, and I remember thinking, wow, if I'm always gonna keep doing this, gonna continue letting my emotions be run by other people, I'm always going to stay in this situation. This is gonna keep happening to me again and again and again. And it was also on that route to my apartment. I would drive past the house of my ex-boyfriend. I would always still look at, is he there? Like, is his car in the driveway? And all of that together was just upsetting to me, because he also just left me without, that was just not a fun situation to be in. And it left me feeling sorry for myself sometimes. So back when I was sitting in that car, tears streaming down my face, I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to let my happiness depend on other people, not even 10% of it, because I was already strong and doing all the things. I was just like, I've had it. I'm not going to let them do this to me anymore. I am not going to do this to me anymore. And I decided I'm going to take full ownership from now on. From now on, I choose to be happy. I choose to create my life. I am not dependent on anyone. My happiness is not dependent on anyone's actions. It is solely dependent on me. And that was a huge shift towards epic ownership, massive radical responsibility. And that is the key, together with that abundance, of all of the other stuff I have done over the past 5 years. And I'm so happy that I hit a low point that day. And believe me, I really hit a low point. And it didn't immediately fix everything, but it just put a lot of things in a new light. It reframed a lot. And for me, I'm very grateful. All of the things that have happened to me so far have happened because they've brought me to where I am today. I think a lot of this happened at the same time. I'm still in the 5 years ago phase. I started learning from the best and investing in the best. I just talked about my coach, Sarah, and I invested in her. It was about $250 per month at a time where I was not flush with cash, but I did invest in her. And when I say the best, I also mean investing in the things that might prove you wrong, that might not be the things you want to hear. Because back then I was at this crossroads and I was looking for a coach, actually, because I was emotional eating and I was struggling with my confidence and all of that in between running my business. And I had the choice between two coaches. One was going to present me with a lot of stuff that I coached in myself and things I had been coached in, let's call it that. And another was going to prove me wrong, challenge my beliefs, and all of that stuff. And I was like, well, let me just stick with what's comfortable, until I talked to that other coach, Sarah. And she made me realize I needed someone to challenge my beliefs. I needed someone to call out my bullshit. And I needed to learn different perspectives about myself. And I'm so happy that I did that. And by the way, no one in my environment believed in that investment. My parents thought it was irresponsible to spend that much money on a coach, although I was crying half the time and they clearly saw that I was unhappy. They just didn't really see how that was going to help me. By the way, I have a great relationship with my parents. It's always a little bit weird to say stuff like that because it doesn't mean like I discredit them. It's like telling you a friend of mine disagreed. Like, my parents are some of my very best friends. I tell you this so that you know that when your parents disagree with you or when you make other decisions than your environment supports, it's totally normal, and I have gone through that myself too. So I remember them being like, what? Like, how is this person gonna help you? Because I was just struggling with myself. But she helped me so much, and I'm certain that was in the year that I was gonna graduate, and I was switching my business from offline to online, and I could have never done all of that if I had not started coaching with Sarah. Like, I'm choking up as I'm saying this. She literally saved my life, and I remember that summer, I think, or later, I don't know. I remember my parents also talking to her, them being really happy with the coaching. We're all friends. Now, by the way, it was online coaching. Sarah is, to this day, one of my very best friends. We talk on a weekly basis. She's no longer my coach. She's just my friend. And sometimes she consoles me while I cry. Because I still cry sometimes. I'm still a crybaby. That investment was amazing. I had also previously invested in a business course that made me poop my pants because I had spent $900 on the course in the middle of the night after a webinar, and I was like, what did I do? That helped me. I never even watched the entire course. I just learned a few things in that course that really like flipped some switches in my brain. And every time I have made investments in myself, even when those were the wrong investments, I learned from it. So I learned, I invested, and I kept investing. And I don't regret a lot of things. I just look at events happening in your life as learning opportunities. But if there is one thing I wish I would have done sooner, it is learning and investing, learning it from the best, investing in the best, and starting with a business coach sooner. Because if we're talking about how to go from being broke to being a self-made millionaire, damn, a business coach could have made a way bigger difference way sooner. I don't know what it is with us people. I think it's our ego that keeps us from investing and stuff like that. We're like, oh, we'll buy fancy food and we'll buy cookbooks and we'll buy wine and we'll buy furniture and clothes. But our happiness, our success, let's not buy anything for that. Like, we'd rather buy books we don't read than invest in a coach who holds us accountable. So that's definitely something I'm really happy I started doing that. I'll probably never stop doing that. Building support around me is one of the best things I've ever done since, and I've kept on doing that. I've just kept adding support, like a mental coach, a business coach, a personal trainer, a housekeeper. Paying people to support me has really helped me. I think that's the fourth thing is paid support. And sometimes I am a little bit of a lone ranger. I'll go into this I'm all alone, I need to fix everything myself savior role. But I've learned to ask for more help, both from my loved ones, including them in what I'm doing, but also just making decisions that when I don't feel supported enough, I go and get that support. I can get support in ways I want. And I've also stopped. Like, sometimes people are like, oh my God, and this person or my mom isn't helping me enough with my house or whatever. Then pay someone. Then pay someone to do that while you make money doing something else. Because you can't expect stuff from other people, because that goes against ownership. You can expect stuff from yourself. You can ask people for help. But if that isn't working, if that isn't serving you, then go and get your paid support. And I spend a lot of money, and I've spent a lot of money since. Even back then, I paid someone to clean my apartment or my studio, stuff like that, because I just knew that is only going to make me more grumpy. I am slower and I can make more money in the same time frame, or I can work on school while my apartment is being cleaned so that afterwards I can work with clients, because that is just going to give me more energy. It is more important, and it is something that someone else can't do. It's not uniquely me, whereas the cleaning is not uniquely me. So I really truly wish people would pay for more support, would be more open to going to see therapists, psychologists, coaches. Honestly, we get brought up to believe that we need to do all of it by ourselves, but I think this is one of the biggest ones in how to become a millionaire or multimillionaire or whatever, especially as a woman too, as a man too, is dare to ask for help. In our education, we learn to not ask for help. When you're in middle school, I don't know what age that is exactly, but you're like, here in Belgium, they tell you, make sure you ask your questions now, because when you go to the next level of high school, you won't be able to ask your questions anymore. And in high school, the teachers are like, make sure you ask your questions, because when you go to university, you won't be able to ask your questions. You know what? That's bullshit. You can always go and ask your questions. You can always go and ask people for help. It's just actively discouraged in our society, which is a huge fucking problem, in my opinion. When I have coachees from Belgium or the Netherlands, I always love it when I have Dutch coachees, because they will speak up, they will ask questions. I'm like, yes, we have some Dutchies in the house, because they will ask me questions. In Belgium, we are actively discouraged from opening our mouth, and that is not going to serve you if you want to build a big life and a big business, because that's what we're doing. We're building our biggest, bestest life. So get some support, okay? I hope that right now you stop this recording and you finally go and get that house help, that you finally book that appointment with that psychologist or that coach you need. Just do it. It's not weak. It's actually very strong to not stay in a victim mindset, even though you might not be realizing it, and to be like, hey, yeah, sure, I'm not invincible. I need some help. Honestly, the biggest shift in my life have been when I have admitted that I couldn't do it all by myself. And by opening up myself to support, there was such a bigger container for more abundance when there was more. So open yourself up to that. Fifth up, and I think I've already talked about that, but I ignored my non-believers in my environment. Investing in things other people didn't believe in, I ignored them. Doing things with my business no one believed in, I ignored them. Again, the biggest shifts to going from broke to becoming a millionaire have been when I went against the stream, when I did what no one else was doing. When I made content, everyone thought that was crazy. When I moved to a house, everyone thought that was crazy. And I'm not talking a little crazy, but when people tell you like, oh, that's irresponsible, you won't get a loan, I would only buy something that's 1/3 of that price. Why would you do that? That coach isn't going to help you. You shouldn't create a mastermind. So this is one of the things I've now been working, I think, for 3 years on my core product, the Business Freedom Mastermind and the Business Freedom Elevator, that like it turned into that, which is all based on my Business Freedom framework. And I was told by a close friend of mine back then that I shouldn't make that. I shouldn't do what other people were doing in that aspect of creating a mastermind. People telling me wrong, all things. I'm so happy I didn't listen to them. I'm so happy I tuned them out. Also, sometimes cut them out of my life, and I listen to my intuition. When that intuition strikes, when you feel with your gut this is something you need to do because you need to serve people, listen to it. It will take a while. It might not be easy, but you will get there if you are doing like if you can listen to your intuition. So I guess I want to pair the ignore non-believers in your environment with and instead listen to your intuition when it is very strong. Sometimes your intuition will feel like resistance, by the way. Make sure that you don't take up that resistance as it being a reason not to do something, but that it's probably a sign that you need to do something. When you get wildly uncomfortable, that's most of the time a sign that you need to do it. I literally said this to my coach yesterday. She says like, why wouldn't you do that? And I was like, well, that makes me uncomfortable, so it's probably a sign I should do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Which is one of the things I've added this year to my list of new things I do. I think I've talked about it before, but this year I made the resolution to make decisions faster. Make faster decisions, because you can make good decisions or bad decisions, but they will always bring you closer to what you want to achieve, be it by you having to like adjust what you're doing or by because you made the right decision. But if you make no decisions, nothing is going to happen. So I have this sometimes with like, for example, a new branding document sitting in my inbox, and I'll be like, I don't know. And then it'll take me weeks to respond. And I was like, why do I keep doing that? Why don't I just say what I mean in that moment and like just make some decisions? So whenever you have decisions to make, usually they will only take you like a couple of minutes, but you keep postponing it. It takes a lot of energy. Just make your decisions faster and know that almost nothing is irreversible other than like, I don't know, even plastic surgery is not irreversible probably. So just like, yeah, not a lot is irreversible. So stop putting so much weight on that and just make faster decisions. At least that's what I did. I'm writing this down because I made a list with 10 principles and I'm already coming up with a lot more. Up next, in that time frame, what shifted a lot from 5 years ago until now is that I started producing a lot more than I consumed. I used to read a lot. I used to read a lot of articles. I used to Google endless articles of how do millionaires spend their morning and how to start your day and the miracle morning and books and all of that. And I'm very happy I read them. They helped me a lot in my coaching. They helped me a lot in how my mind is made up now. And right now I'm back to wanting to learn more. But for the longest period of time, I just produced instead of consumed. I haven't been to Inc.com or Entrepreneur.com or Reddit or any of those sites in years. I think in the past 3 years, I haven't spent any time on those websites. And whenever I do consume, it's from a coach or it's from a course I paid for. I don't really consume any other content, and I make sure that I spend at least 4 times as much time producing over consuming. And if you don't believe me, or if you're like, well, that's me, I produce a lot, I dare to challenge you. When you log into your Instagram account or when you look at your screen time on your iPhone, how much time are you spending on your iPhone? How much time are you spending on Instagram scrolling instead of creating valuable stories with tips for people? How much time are you creating videos and photos of your own products and not looking at how other people are doing that? Produce over consume. That is what will get you to become a millionaire if you do that consistently, days and days and days on end, years on end. Which brings me to consistency. I think maybe there's been one day in the past 5 years where I haven't been active on Instagram or haven't produced anything. 5 years? From the moment I started being active on Instagram. So let's say, 4 years. Back in the day, it used to be daily posts or multiple daily posts. Afterwards, it became stories. I don't post on my feed every single day right now. Most of the time I do, though. But there will almost never be an empty story format. And a lot of people will give up when something doesn't work after like 4 days of trying something out. I didn't get here. It's weird to talk about yourself like that, but I didn't get here from something I did 4 days. My program that generated almost $2 million in revenue in the past year, I've been working on that for 3 years actively. And for, I think, 4 years before that, building up knowledge so I could make it. So that's 7 years. So I didn't become a self-made millionaire overnight. I did that throughout my entire life by being consistent in learning, by being consistent in producing, by being hyper consistent. Be that with your social media, with your podcast, with the way you treat your clients. Don't deliver a stellar service 1 week and suck the next week. Be consistent at the things you value. So for me, for the past year, for example, we really highlighted consistency. We really wanted to be very consistent and we want to deliver a great service for our clients. This year, I want to go deeper in deeper content, better content. I hope you're noticing it. I want to make my emails better. I want to tweak everything we have, but make it even better and up the quality. I want to be excellent at stuff. And I want to be consistent in that excellence. But there's no use in doing that 1 week and then falling off the wagon the next week. You got to choose what you can be consistent at. And if there's one thing I would recommend you're consistent at, it's definitely consistent personal branding. Brand yourself all the time. Building up a name is never a bad idea. And consistent sales. A successful business and a big fat bank account come from always selling. Never not be selling. I don't always have active programs open, but I'm always selling something. Even if it's just my message that I'm putting out there, I'm always attracting new leads. When I was about 10 years old, I had my first business, my jewelry business. And I remember my dad telling me, oh, you don't just, now you need to make sure you do 2 things, because I was selling well. I was sick at the time and lying on the couch, that's what I made. I made jewelry. And then I sold it to friends and moms at school and whatever. And I remember my dad telling me, now you're doing well. Now you need to make sure your pipeline is always filled with new potential clients. And then you need to make sure you have multiple pipelines. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to tell a 10-year-old that, but I guess it brought me here today. So he was so right. A lot of people get so caught up in their business, they forget to do lead generation, and then they get so caught up in what they're doing, they forget to broaden their horizon on what else they could do. Sometimes they do too much, too fast too. That's also something to pay attention to. I do recommend you focus on one core offer before creating multiple ones. You have to have one core offer with a decent lead generation pipeline in place, and then start creating multiple ones and scale upwards. But yeah, I was still talking about consistency, I think. Consistent sales, consistent lead generation. Keep attracting new clients. Keep marketing. In the past few months, I made the mistake of kind of forgetting to build up a waitlist for our Business Freedom Elevator, and I felt that. And before that, when I ran my mastermind, which was always 4 months long, every Thursday when we had a call, after that call, I would post this slide in my feed like, hey, do you want to join the mastermind in the future? Swipe up for the waitlist. So by the time we launched, the waitlist would be filled. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't do fancy lives, emails, whatever. I just consistently talked about it and kept posting it. And now I had like 300 more people in my program. I forgot to do that and I felt the results. I could have easily gotten a lot more results out of it if I would have done that consistently. This is a great note to myself to do that from now on, this time around. So yeah, be hyper consistent at whatever you do, because greatness comes from consistency. I'm going to write that down. Greatness comes from consistency. As you see, I'm very deep in the content and I'm loving focusing on all the things we're doing this year. Okay, and then number 9 is, I think, I don't really know what I mean by that. Well, I guess I do. Number 9 is live your best lifestyle. And what I mean by that is, if you want to be the person you want to become, if you want to be the person, you need to act like that person. And this might come across as a little bit irresponsible, but some of the things I've done over the past years that I'm certain helped me step into more abundance and get me to where I am today is, even though money was tight, even though I was very busy, I did go to the United States for a few weeks a couple of times. I went to LA, I went to conferences, I went to Thailand, I went to a bunch of places over the world. I traveled a lot. I stayed at fancier hotels. I drained my bank account sometimes to do all of those things, almost always. I visited my brother in Australia, all of that stuff, because that was what I was doing it for. I've never responded well to the whole, like, I had an ex-boyfriend who did this once, if you can call him a boyfriend. He used to be all up in that, work day and night and become a millionaire by 30. And I was always like, but what use is there in becoming a millionaire by 30 if you have a heart attack at 28? Like, and if you don't live until that point, are you going to live afterwards? It's like when people say, I'll enjoy life when I retire. Don't you want to enjoy life now? I fully believe that you can live your best life right now and make money and accumulate wealth and a fortune. So I think a great book on that is Do Less by Kate Northrup. She was a speaker in one of my programs at Alpha Women recently. I believe if you live your best life, you will attract your best life. If you behave like your best self, you will become more like your best self. So do those things, live that life you want to live, and then that in and of itself will create the life you want, because it will become a reality, because you create your own reality, you create your own destiny. I love that. I'm getting inspired by my own podcast. So 10, be authentic. For me, I think that's gotten me to where I am today. I struggled a lot with the mission and the vision of my company. Sometimes I still do. Over the years, I was like, fitness coach, business coach. How do I do that messaging? What about mindset? What about food? What about daily rituals? And all through that, sometimes I just let the decisions go and I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to follow my intuition and I'm going to talk about things authentically and openly and honestly. And honesty is one of my core values. And I truly believe that has gotten me to where I am today. And that has gotten me to a point where I have so many clients who want to stay with me. Because that's important if you want to build a $1 million business year and year and year, like year after year after year. You don't need one-off clients. You need clients who really appreciate you and who want to stay by you, and they will stay with you if you stay authentically yourself. Because when you are authentic, you are growing, you are evolving, and that will attract the right people. If you try to fit yourself into a mold because you think that's what people need, then you won't, in that mold, you won't have the space to grow. So for me, being authentic has been being perfectly imperfect, showing what I'm good at. I'm really good at caring. I'm not good at creating the best audio quality in the programs I've recorded myself. This is professionally recorded, so that's a different story. I am not good at remembering everything all the time, and I'm just authentic about that. And I will always over-deliver, and my clients know that I'm just a human. And I think in my messaging too, just being authentic towards the world has allowed me to create so much space to grow and to go from broke to a self-made millionaire. Who can guess how many times I've said millionaire in this podcast? Bingo! Anytime I say it now, you need to take a shot. It can be alcohol-filled shot, or it can be an espresso shot. So get ready to get drunk or wired. Okay, so that's already 10 lessons. And I was going to record a short podcast episode, but I am going to continue. 11 is have a single-minded focus. I used to have it when I started my business, my clients, my hours, my business had to be filled with clients. I made that like very quickly because I had that single-minded focus of what I wanted to do. And now I've created it for myself again by deleting a lot of programs, deleting a lot of clutter, and focusing on a few things alone, on a few types of clients alone. In my case, I have my one goal audience. I want to reach them and I want to see them grow throughout my programs. But it's one type of audience I'm looking for. It's one type of person I want to change their lives. And I really want to help as many people as I can build a freedom-based business and life. And I want to give them the gift of independence. I want them to believe that they can do whatever they set their mind to. That is my focus. And I know that my programs will help them. My podcast will help them. My content will help them. So I never have to battle myself with should I go on camera or should I sell this? Because I believe that this is what will help people, and that is my focus. And that's why it works so well. Have a single-minded focus. Don't waste your time on a bunch of things at once. Focus on one thing and keep going like a train. Like there's this movie on Netflix, I think. I haven't watched it because it looks creepy. No, it's a series. It's like the world has ended and there's this train just looping around the world. So like be that train. Just keep looping around the world. Just keep going, okay? Years and years. I had this discussion with my dad because he started his podcast and he was like, well, I don't have as many downloads as you do, although his downloads are amazing of the podcast. And I was like, well, I've been doing this for 5 years on Instagram promoting it, and I have over 60 episodes on my podcast, and you have 6. But you're almost at my downloads number. I'm like, you should really be really, 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 really happy. I don't know where I was going with that. Was that just me being petty? No. What was I gonna say? Shit, I lost it. Keep on going. Just keep on going. That's what I wanted to say. Also, check out my dad's podcast at Business Dad. His podcast is amazing. It's in Dutch. It's really fun. He's also been on my podcast multiple times, so you can search back. In episode 60, he was recently a guest, and there we talk about his podcast. So really fun. So have a single-minded focus on what you want to achieve, and sometimes it might take you years. Make shorter goals. Set targets. For me, that was my first mastermind. I had 4 clients, then I had 9 clients, and I had 17 clients. Then I had 30 clients, and then boom, I had 375 clients. So yeah, stay focused because it might take a while, but it will be worth it. Okay. And then this is a big one, and this is one, believe it or not, I have struggled with, and I have had to go back to and back to and back to over the past years. Believe in yourself. And when that is difficult, or when you don't feel it, then believe in what you do. I've had this question from people because I'm always like, you need to be really enthusiastic about what you're selling. And people told me, like, but what if you don't believe in yourself? Or like, do you ever doubt that you don't believe in yourself? And I was like, interesting. I was like, I do think I doubt myself sometimes because my confidence, despite all of the growth from the past years, it has seen huge ups and downs because of all the growth. But I do believe in what I do. So sometimes I'll doubt myself. I'll feel people-pleasing habits come up, perfectionist habits come up, all the things and insecurities and all of that. But I really believe in what I'm doing. So when I'm feeling low on me, I can believe in my mission. And then that's fuel enough for me to keep on going. So believe in yourself, but especially believe in what you do, business-wise then. And another thing that got me to this point is killing my darlings. I just said it. I brought my mastermind from 4 to 9 to 17 to 30 clients. Then I killed my mastermind to create an even better program and split it up into 2 parts, namely my elevator and my mentorship program. And it's because I killed my darlings that I was able to 10 times my revenue. And it really hurt because my mastermind was running smoothly. Everything was going well. I knew perfectly how to launch, how to sell it out in a day. And just when I had figured it all out to do a 5th successful launch, I noticed I had over 300 people on my waitlist. And I was like, well, I can't serve all 300 people because I have a limit of 30. Shit, I need to kill it. I need to do something else. And that was really difficult because when it's going so smoothly, you want to hold on to that. But it was actually a sign I needed to change it. So that doesn't mean you always need to change something that's running well. But for me, it meant it was time to kill my darlings. And I had never really gotten that concept until that point. And that is definitely one of the biggest reasons I got to this point is because I made that choice that a lot of people were like, well, why won't you just keep doing this? But I knew that my clients were needing something different. I knew that my audience was needing something different. So I'm happy I did that. And last but not least, you need to fail fast. It is okay to fail. I have published a couple of ebooks, and maybe I've sold like 1 ebook I once made. I only sold like 10 pieces, maybe even with a larger audience. When you fire someone and it's not working, of course, try and make it work. But when you feel in your gut something isn't working because it's not working, fail fast, fire fast. I don't mean to be rude when I say that. It's just the truth. You don't need to put yourself down to make other people, like, you don't need to light yourself on fire in order to keep others warm. That goes the same for your business. You don't need to light yourself on fire to keep your business running if there are other solutions. So if you do something, if you test something and it is horrible, then feel fast and let it go. A lot of people stick with something when it's clearly not working or it's clearly a product people don't want because they don't want to give up. But sometimes one of the best things you can do is give up. Now, I don't mean because of fear of failure, don't sell something. Because most people are like, oh, it's not selling. Usually it's because you're not selling. But that's like, I'll make a different episode about that. I'm talking about when you have legitimately, when you've had the data beforehand, you've had the evidence that something should have worked and it's not working, figure out if it's actually not working and then just let it go. Give up. It's like a relationship. Sometimes you just need to let go. Okay. Now, the title of this podcast had to do with becoming a self-made female millionaire. I haven't said anything about being a female in this entire podcast, and that is my message about that. My dad taught me from a very early age that, I said this in a video once, I don't remember how I said it. He just raised me to be me, not the female version of me. He talked to me about business. We had adult conversations when I was 6 years old. My parents have raised me and my brothers in a way that they've never babied us. They've always treated us like people who were to be treated with respect. They didn't use baby voices, all of that stuff. They just explained things to us. And I've never mowed the lawn. My brothers have. I don't know if they know I've never mowed the lawn. When I was younger and there would have been a situation where I had an inkling of a feeling that I had to do something because I was a girl, like put the dishes in the dishwasher and they weren't doing it, I would call it out and I would be like, this is not happening. Usually it was just in my head and it wasn't actually happening. But I believe the biggest power in all of this is being aware of your own bias. If you have a bias, like you can't do something because you are a woman, or you look at other women and you're surprised when they do something, is like, oh, that's really done really well for a woman. I have that sometimes, like, oh, wow, she did it in a quiz, for example. We have this quiz in Belgium, and I know in the finale there were 3 women, and somewhere in my brain it popped up like, oh, there's 3 women in the finale. But no one would have thought that if there were 3 men in the finale. So what I want to say there is I have a lot of biases that were infiltrated in my brain growing up in our society. You have them too. Be aware of those and try to filter them out. A good book on that is Lean In. But all of these years, yeah, I've encountered a lot of situations where I was made smaller or held back because I was a woman. But I didn't go into a victim mindset there. I just, for the most part, to be honest, I just ignored it. And sometimes I used it to my advantage. And I don't feel the need to say anything about it because it doesn't matter if you are a woman or a man. And as a woman, yeah, you will have to work harder to be taken seriously. I have lawyers, for example, I have lawyers as clients, coaches, and I will tell them you will have to do more to prove yourself. As a woman, you will have to do more to prove your value. You will have to do more to prove to people that they can take you seriously. If you disagree with me, fine, but take it from me. For me, it's true, and for hundreds of my coaches, it's true too. Just take that as a given and run with it. Just go for it. Never let it stop you. Never look at yourself as like never make yourself smaller. But all of this is true both for men and women. But I don't know. I'm just thinking, is there anything I did these past years? Yeah. Also, don't feel the need to. I've done this where and sometimes it still comes up that I feel the need to talk about money or to prove myself in the vicinity of men. I actually had this happen a few weeks ago where some friends of my of Charlie were at our house. And sometimes I don't realize it. And sometimes I do feel the need to make myself bigger or to like puff my chest like men would do it because they have their biases. But just be big. Don't let other people make you smaller, but also don't try to fit yourself into a mold because other people need you to be more manly or more feminine or whatever. Stay true to yourself. I think that's that authenticity part. And yeah, people will be surprised when they discover I'm a business owner, or they will take me more seriously when they know I have a degree. But just make sure you don't do any of that. Just make sure you take yourself seriously. Just make sure you believe in yourself. Make sure you surround yourself with people who believe in you, because like that's toxic otherwise. And you can do anything you set your mind to. And the whole there are less female millionaires or whatever, or CEOs out there. It's also fine if you don't want to work many hours or be the CEO of a company. If you want to spend more time with your kids or less time, everything is fine. It is all up to you, but you have all the choices in your own hands. You can create the entire life you want. If you want to buy a house in Ibiza, if you want to fly a private plane, if you want to have 10 kids, you have everything you need to make your dreams happen. It might not always be easy, but it is simple if you have a single-minded focus and you go for what you want. That's what I have done over the years. It hasn't always been easy, but damn it, it's been worth it. And that belief, that ownership, that brings a lot of calmness, because it brings you control. It means you control your destiny. You control your dreams. You control your life, and thus also your business. And with that, I'm gonna say goodbye. That last bit was a little bit jumbly. I hope you liked this episode. Do me a favor, today is a really special day. It's I think it's the day of the woman or something. I don't know how to say it correctly. But share this episode. If you've watched this, please share a photo on your Instagram stories. If you listen to it, share a screenshot of your iPhone that you're listening to this. Let's break that taboo about talking about female self-made millionaires, talking about money, talking about being big, being a success. Let's share this message so we can attract more of this success with other people too, okay? Let's make everyone around us bigger, and let's not stay small. This was episode 68 of the Fast Forward Amy show. So if you want to read all of these principles instead of like listen to them, you can go and read it all on fastforwardamy.com/68. And if you are looking to scale up your business and you want to learn about how to build a 7-figure $1 million business, go and grab my organization guide. It's really good. I've outlined some of my best principles from the past year in them, and you can go and grab that through fastforwardamy.com/7-figure organization. You might think, Amy, why do I want to download that? No, I'm not listening to you with your links. I do want to implore you to go and download it, because in the guide, I have added my matrix that I've created about the departments and the phases in my business we move through consistently. And they have helped us to level up from a 6-figure to a multi-7-figure business. So go and grab that, click the link in bio to download. And yeah, I hope you let me know what you think. Thank you for listening. Have a happy day, and talk to you next week.